All right, y'all, it's that time. I need everybody to get up because it's time to start the Sandra Show!
Show. If y'all doing all right, y'all make some noise. Yeah. Listen, it's Monday, and I hope everyone had a fantastic weekend. I have my band with me today for the culture.
Yeah.
Would y'all please put your hands together for our music director on keys, Mr. Chris Baptiste. Yeah.
Hey.
On guitar, we have Luke Darabal. On drums, we have Mr. Jonathan Park. We have such a great show lined up for you today. So go ahead and get all comfy, grab your bubbly beverage, and let's get this show started! Hey, let's get it started! Woo! Listen, before we jump into today's show, we the people have some stuff to discuss because, y'all, this is crazy. So the Trump administration paid El Salvador $6 million to detain 300 deported immigrants, despite a judge ruling to halt removals. By the time the order was issued, flights had already taken off, and El Salvador's President Bukele mocked the decision, tweeting, "Oopsie, too late." Well, legal experts argue the move violated the judge's intent, but the Department of Justice admitted deportations continued. Meanwhile, the administration has appealed and plans to pursue other legal avenues to keep removals going. All right, y'all, enough about that. What y'all think about that?
Hey, man, I kind of miss when my president didn't used to tweet, but I'm still here for it, though. I'm still here for
We've got a
anything
tweeting president.
I'm here for it, though.
And then we have situations that say, oops, when a judge has ordered something and it still happens. When has that ever happened in history? Do y'all know? I mean, there's a constitution, we have amendments, we have laws, right?
What happened to those?
Well, I don't know.
Whatever happened to those?
We'll tweet about it later. Listen, let's move on. Y'all, we have a guest tonight whose journey is anything but conventional. Mr. Derrick Grace has built a family dynamic based on self-reliance, unity, and education, where everyone relies on each other to navigate life's challenges. He's here to share how he transformed his family into a powerhouse of support and self-sufficiency, teaching lessons that go far beyond what traditional systems offer. Y'all, please welcome to the lavender couch, the one and only Mr. Derrick Grace! Ooh, come on! Oh, Mr. Grace is in the house. Hey, I'm fabulous, sir. How are you? Wonderful. Nice to meet you as well. Please have a seat.
Thank you.
Here we go. Bam. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm amazing. How about yourself?
I'm amazing. I love your last name.
I love your energy.
Do you really? Thank you so much. Likewise. We're going to jump into this because you are a dynamic person.
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you as well. So although you worked as a 911 dispatcher and saw the inner workings of emergency services firsthand,
yes, ma'am.
What was it that made you lose trust in calling 911 for emergencies?
Okay, so firstly, I lost that job. I called out on a holiday. I found out like that's a cardinal sin in the corporate world. You do not call out on holidays, especially with companies that run emergency services, aka 911. So I called out on a holiday. That was Thanksgiving of 2011. They suspended me indefinitely, even though I had my hospital note. I found out that day that I had a, a cyst in my scrotum.
Oh,
right?
no.
So I woke up that morning, I'm in some crazy pain I never experienced.
Right.
Didn't go to work. I called in, and long story short, by the time I tried to go to work, they told me I was suspended indefinitely. So they left me dangling for like 3 or 4 months. They called me in early February. I'm excited. I'm like, I'm finally finna get back to work. And I remember I walked in, I saw like 8 of them at one table, and I knew then like, all right, this conversation not gonna be.
8 people at one table?
8 people. The colonel, everybody was at the desk. And they simply brought me in and just like, hey, we letting you go, blah, blah, blah. And then that was it. So that's the last time I was employed, February 2012.
Well, this is interesting, though, because for a 911 emergency service, and you had a doctor's note,
Yes, ma'am.
and they left you dangling, which is an interesting choice
I had my
of
own
words.
911 emergency. And they ain't want to hear it, though.
And they didn't want to hear it.
No,
So
ma'am.
what happened after that, Mr. Grace?
So shortly after that, that's when I got my first facial tattoo, because I promised myself I would never be solely relying on corporate America again. Like, that really, like, broke my heart. And it just changed my whole outlook, because my great-grandfather was one of the first deputies for the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office and also the Tampa Police Department. My father is retired Secret Service, so I grew up in that world.
Wow.
So like early on, I was taught like, hey, this is one place I can get you a job for sure, and I can guarantee. Like my dad retired at 42, so like I'm mirroring him. Like, all right, I'm gonna be just like my dad. I'm gonna work for these 18, 16 years, and then I'm out of here by early 40s.
Yes.
And when they fired me, it just uprooted my whole outlook on life, dependency, jobs, and everything. And from then, I went completely independent. I started a retail business back then called Millionaire Bound. I was selling clothing at that point, and I had to connect within Foot Action and Foot Locker. A young lady I was dealing with, her aunt worked at Foot Action. She would basically like, I pay under the table. She'd sneak me the most exclusive shoes out during releases. I would make them color code and coincide with the clothes I was putting out, and that's essentially how I forced my brand on people, because nobody cared about my clothes in the beginning.
They wanted those shoes.
They didn't want the shoes.
That'll do it.
So I would bump the price up to offset my expenses, make a little money, and have enough to go make a shirt to coincide with it. But it didn't work for 9 whole months. Like for 9 whole months, nobody bought absolutely anything.
Are you serious?
Yes, ma'am. And I just had to keep grinding until I figured it out. And I never forget her name, Sarah McCray in Fayetteville, North Carolina. That was my first transaction 13 years ago, and me and her still keep in contact to this day.
Are you serious? That's awesome.
Yep. I actually
Sarah
just talked to her
McCray.
like 2 weeks ago when I was in North Carolina.
Get out. I know she's proud of you
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
My goodness. So you got your first tattoo, so you would say to yourself every time you saw it, I'm never going back to corporate.
Yeah, no, like
It looks like you said that several times.
I did. So I just want to say I got the first one, and I realized the pain wasn't what people said it was. And I've always had an obsessive demeanor. Things I
Okay,
like.
I was going to say you have an obsessive
See,
behavior.
if his goal is I gotta wear 30 chains. If it's children, I need 10 of them. Whatever I'm into, I'm gonna have a lot of it.
You
so,
need abundance.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I got that first one, and I was like, it's not that bad. And I remember by like week 2, I had 9, and I was just like, yeah, I'm definitely.
Week 2?
Yes, man. I was like, I'm definitely not getting a job. I'm gonna settle in where I'm at, and I got no choice but to figure it out at this point.
Oh my goodness. And figure it out you have
Yes,
done.
ma'am.
So
Thank
you've
you.
said, you're welcome. You've said you don't believe in the school system
No, ma'am, I
and that
don't.
it dilutes mental progression. What about traditional education makes you so adamantly against it?
So, firstly, I want to send a lot of love to the teachers,
Yes.
because I know a lot of time it's not them. It's the system that they signed up to, and they only have but so much wiggle room based on where they work and the foundation of that business. So, early on, like when I put my son in school, he's my oldest child. He'll be 17, because I had him right at 18, 19. He'll be 17 in August.
Oh, wow.
So when I put him in school, he would continuously have issues. And I remember the teacher telling me he gets the work done. He's a great student, but his attention span is extremely low. He'll blow through the work, but then he gets in trouble. So I just started assessing that, and at the same time, I'm becoming an entrepreneur, and I'm doing speaking gigs. Like the Great American Teaching is how I started. Just signing up for the Great American Teaching and building with the children. I started realizing like the curriculum and the things that they're teaching us, like a lot of them aren't feasible for later life. They're cool right then. My personal opinion, I think most people can leave school by the time they get to 9th grade.
Oh, wow.
I feel like by then they got the necessary basics they need to make it in this life, unless they want to go to be a surgeon or whatnot. But other than that, you have the basic tools. But as I just start unpacking the system, I start realizing school was nothing more than a daycare for parents to send their children to while they go do what they're forced to do as adults in America.
Work.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yep.
And make money to take care of the kids.
Yes, ma'am.
And then they pick them up from daycare, you
Right.
say?
Pick 'em up from big daycare.
Okay. So do you believe in public education, or do you believe, the Trump administration is getting rid of the Board of Education? Are you for that? Or do you believe in charter schools? Kids should be able to get a voucher and go to school wherever they want to go, or
All right.
be homeschooled? Look, this is getting a smile on your face. I love it.
This one of my favorite topics. So I believe in all three of those.
Okay.
I believe they should be able to charter and go where they want. I believe they should integrate into systems that actually appease the parts of them that they're trying to figure out in life and master. Mm-hmm. I do believe that I am in support of Trump's ideology of getting rid of certain things and redoing it. Mm-hmm. I really do feel like the country has been pacified. Well, I don't even hear that one.
He just played a little, what is it called, sound bite of Trump saying something about China.
I got you. So, but above all, I do believe in homeschool. And I believe homeschool allows us to teach our children from a genuine place. Because I feel like a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times it's not coming from a genuine place in the school system because they're not even actually to teach. I've met so many teachers that are in a state of depression because they really can't love on those children like they want to. They really can't teach them what they want to. They can't give them the time they want to because they got a system and a framework that they have to perform in. So I'm all for homeschool. I'm all for teaching the children the things that are actually going to be applicable to life moving forward and not just a rhetoric that they created 100 years ago that culturally definitely is not getting a lot of us nowhere.
Did you homeschool your children?
Absolutely. I pulled my son out in 2nd grade, and that was it. Other than him, I have 10 children total.
I was going to say, you said you're fine with 10 children, so you're on that same path.
I actually want more.
You want more?
I'm gonna retire between 12 and 15, somewhere up in there.
Okay.
But
you know what? My dad wanted as many disciples as it was he wanted children.
Right.
So you're trying to get up to that 12.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, that's how many he had?
No, he ended up with 8 because the doctor said, Bishop Lewis, you're going to kill this woman. That's enough. Listen, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. We have Derrick Grace with us. Don't go nowhere. Yes. Everybody make some noise up in here. Yes, I am so delighted to be here with my guest, Mr. Derrick Grace. We're having a very deep conversation. We were talking about the elimination of the Department of Education, how he feels about homeschooling, education for kids. And now we want to talk about the way you teach your children.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
you've taught your children about guns.
Yes, ma'am.
So teaching your children about guns at such a young age is highly controversial. Can you explain why you think it's Important for kids to learn gun safety and what you want them to take away from these lessons.
Yes, ma'am. When I started that, Derrick, that's my oldest daughter. Well, just referencing my oldest daughter and oldest son. He was 6 and she was 3.
Wow.
The initial thing that got me into it was, unfortunately, I had a shooting in front of Derrick. And I knew, I had already saw like how it piqued their interest when they would see me move around with guns within the home. And I also knew the interest I had when I would see my dad move around with guns. So once she experienced that, I just felt compelled to start to like really break it down and educate her on it, because I knew at some point that interest would lead to them touching it or wondering, you know, what it does. Well, she saw what it does in real time, but I just felt, I just made it my priority to start teaching her on it. And overall, the second part of it was a lot of what's taking place right now. And I tell everybody, like, I'm only 35, but I remember like it being rules and regulations, especially when it came to the streets, and women and children and elders were off limits. But we're just currently living in an era where like anybody is up for grabs. And a lot of that I saw early on, which is why I thought it was important to train my children on how to not only protect themselves, but protect me or protect the home or whatever the case may be. So that's what initially got me into showing them how to unload, how to reload, how to shoot, how to...
When I tell you, I saw a video of yours. Everything you do is viral. When I say viral, it is viral. You were at the table, I believe, with your daughter, and she was able to put the whole gun together.
Yes, ma'am.
Blindfolded.
It's funny you say that. She's actually training her younger siblings. Currently, literally, at this time as we're speaking, she's training her younger siblings on how to do it. And like that was one of my major goals, to get out the way. Because, you know, we never know when we're going to transition. We never know we're going next. So I make it my business to try to train them and expose them to as much as I can about the world while I'm present. So at 13, she's now training her younger siblings on what I taught her at 3 years old.
That's amazing. How
you.
good of a shooter is she?
I'm going to be honest. She's good. She's ambidextrous, so I love that she can shoot with both hands.
Left hand and right hand.
Yeah, just like my dad. Her and my dad are both ambidextrous, but my son, he's like neck and neck with my dad in terms of shooting.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he
What would they call that in the industry when you're just so good at it?
I don't know. To me, like marksman level. You
Marksman, yes.
Let me ask you a question. You may not be familiar with him. You may be, but it's a young man named Black Rambo. Culturally, he's known as like the gun guy within our culture. Derrick is so good that like him and Black Rambo. Now, granted, Black Rambo's older than me, but him and Derrick went on tour a couple years ago, and they would travel around and go shoot together. So
Are you serious?
Wow. Yeah.
This is your 17-year-old?
Yeah, but at that time, he was like 13 to 14.
You taught him to be good enough to travel with the top marksmen in the country.
Absolutely.
Maybe the world.
Well, I say culture. But our culture, Black Rambo is that. Like, he's a retired vet.
I love it.
And he's that guy. So him and Derrick traveled for a short, like probably over the summer, a couple months.
Really?
But yeah, he's that high up there at this age that
I know you are proud, Daddy.
Absolutely.
And most definitely.
Yes, ma'am.
So traditional parenting often focuses on conformity and discipline, but your method emphasizes self-reliance and critical thinking.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think modern parenting has become too focused on control rather than empowering children to think for themselves?
1,000%. I think most parents have. I think
That's
most,
the way you like it.
I think most parents have unrealistic expectations. We really create little versions of ourselves, and then we expect them to skip the stages of making the same mistakes we did.
Yes.
Like, just to give an example, my son, when he got active, I remember his mom calling me, and it's a big deal, and I had to remind her, like, you know, we got a son that's that old, as young as we are, because we were active. So I just think whether it comes to the education side, like, they want children that don't get referrals, don't get suspended, make straight A's, don't make any poor choices, don't experiment with drugs, not easily influenced or none of that. But if we recollect and assess what we were doing at the same age, a lot of us were a lot worse. And then we don't take the time to even teach them. So when they do evolve to that identical age of us, they still have no blueprint on what to do. We just have an expectation that you're just supposed to know what to do and don't disappoint me with your actions.
Right? And they should be able to make mistakes, right?
Absolutely.
I think as parents, we just don't want them to make the same mistakes.
I agree.
Because we want our children to miss certain areas
I
of
agree.
life if they don't have to run into that wall.
Yes, ma'am.
Why run into the wall? But they don't listen, so they're going to run into the wall anyway, right?
And if we reflect back on what we did, a lot of us learn through consequence.
Yes.
Unfortunately, culturally, I've learned that we learn through consequence. You can give us the book, you can show us the TV, but sometimes we just got to touch the stove and be like, that's really hot.
It's hot. hot.
I don't want to touch that no more.
Ooh, Daddy was right.
Right.
It is hot.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. So what role do you think self-conscious programming plays in dismantling the system of conformity?
So for me and my children, it get a little dangerous at times, but I allow them to practice free will. But I also have to be the voice of reason. So one main thing that differentiates me in that format and my parenting is I believe in consequential parenting. So I don't get in the way of what my children want to do. I advise my children on what they're doing. And that was the relationship I had with my dad, and that helped me a lot. He's that daddy that's going to be like, you're going to break your arm, but all right, go ahead.
Go ahead and break your
When you
arm.
break it, though, call me.
Right,
He was
I'll
like,
be here for
I
it.
warned you, but go ahead. Some things you got to learn on your own. So I do a lot of that with my children. I allow them to explore. I allow them to practice free will. And when the phone end up broke and they depressed because their iPhone don't work no more, or they chip a tooth or whatever the case is, that's when I pull back up and I dust them off and I laugh and I'm like, didn't I tell you? All right, so next time you want to make a choice, you might want to listen to me so you can avoid going through this.
Exactly. Experience is the best teacher,
Absolutely.
as they say. So how has teaching financial literacy through the game board impacted the way your children think about money? And what differences have you noticed in their mindset compared to children who may have not been exposed to these lessons as I'm pulling up your game board right here?
That is a great
the
question.
home banking.
That's a great question. Well, I will say, like, one of the first lessons my children learned, and that was even before I made the board game, I taught them how to count, and I made counting fun by teaching them craps. So, like, at that age, because I had my children early, my first two, 18 and 21. So I'm still outside. I'm young. They see me shooting dice with their other cousins, and they're intrigued. So I remember literally at probably like 3 and 6, teaching them how to shoot craps, and they were so
Really?
They had so much fun doing what daddy do. So I actually made it entertaining and fun, and that led to them wanting to learn more. But I would say current day, one thing I do love is they've had an abundance of experiences, so they're not wrapped up into what most of their peers are. Like, for instance, my 13-year-old, she spends probably like 60% of her day crocheting. Like, that excites her. She's done a lot of what other children haven't got a hold of yet, or she got a better understanding for it, that it's more of a facade than anything. So
At a young age. So
Yes,
now
ma'am.
she's just enjoying live crocheting.
absolutely.
I love that.
That's the thing. Like, she'll go crazy for some yarn. Give her some
Are
yarn.
you serious?
Yes, ma'am. Give her some yarn and her favorite boy band, and she content. She won't bother you at all.
I love it.
But I know, like, financial literacy wise, one of the biggest things, and it's a lesson I tell every parent to do: take your children to the mall, give them $500. Don't genuinely let them spend it, but just give them $500 and fall back and assess where their interest takes them within the mall, and then assess what they want to buy. That'll let you know if they're scarcity shoppers. That'll let you know if they're willing to spend all their money in one place, and that'll let you know where their priorities are. So that was one of the first lessons I did with my oldest too.
I love that.
And in retrospect, I'm gonna be honest, my son still struggled with that behavior, but my daughter, I'm just speaking of my oldest here right now, but my oldest son, he still struggled. He'll blow it in one place, but my daughter, she's a lot more minimalistic, and she just not tied.
Stretch it out.
Yes,
Go
ma'am.
get more things.
Yeah, she the type, she gonna have 300, but ask you to spend your money, and then gonna act like she ain't got $300.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
She that type. My
You
son,
must have talked to my kids.
yeah, my son just gonna pull it out and be like, oh, don't worry about that, I got it. and then we leave the store, and I'm like, how much you got left? He's like, oh, that was everything. I'm like, no, you tripping, bro.
You spend everything.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
the boy spends everything, the girl saves and spends your money. Okay, that's a smart young lady.
The norm. The norm,
exactly.
basically.
I'm gonna let you say that.
Yeah.
So listen, in a world that often relies on external resources, you've created a unique environment within your family.
Yes, ma'am.
Almost like an army where everyone relies on each other for support and education. How were you able to create this and get everyone on the same page?
So what I will say is I'm still actively attempting to get everyone on the same page, because
Okay.
my children range from 1 to 16.
Wow.
So I have a variety of personalities.
Yes, you do.
And one of my daughters has special needs. So she's, of course, she's going to take a little longer to grasp it than everybody else.
Yes.
But I am actively working, and a lot of that stems from going head to head with their moms at times, having to have hard conversations about who should lead best and what category. And I think that's where a lot of families fall into dysfunction, because we want to lead with our ego or our title. But I know some families right now who mom is stronger in finances, but dad just gonna get in the way and be like, he's a boy and I'm a man and I should teach him about money. Dad, you don't got $2. Mom got 20,000.
Don't make me scream.
So let mom lead in this direction. So those are the hard conversations I've had to have with the moms of my children over the years about like, hey, listen, when it comes to nurturing, when it comes to etiquette, when it comes to being astute women, you got it. But when it comes to firm handshake, eye contact, chin up, chest out, this is how we gonna monetize this. This is how we gonna turn a profit. This is how we gonna defend ourselves if it's an issue. Hand it to dad and get out the way. So that's been, yeah, yes, ma'am. That's been one of my biggest things, and my superpowers is just knowing where I actually excel and knowing when to defer and let the mamas do their job.
Well, I tell you what, if and when the apocalypse happens, we all going to Derrick Grace's house.
Oh, look, no, you more than welcome.
My God.
I got everything you need. I got flamethrowers. I got,
Yes, sir.
I got literally whatever you need. I got some, and then we have a whole gun store down in Tampa, Florida, Grace Ultimate Guns in Stephanie, Florida. So if you need to get your family in order, when the apocalypse hit, pull up. One of us gonna be in there. We're gonna take care of you. Get your bulletproof vest. You'll be good to go.
All right, I love it. Can I get
ma'am.
mine autographed, my bulletproof?
Yes, ma'am, for sure.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure sitting here. You are
Likewise.
brilliant.
Thank
we
you.
wish you continued success.
I appreciate
to
it.
all of our viewers, thank y'all so much for joining us. We'll be right back here tomorrow at 7 p.m. Don't miss it. For the culture.
All right, y'all, thanks so much for tuning in. All right, now, come on, and just scan that QR code at the bottom of your screen.